So, I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but here we are. Last year, I came home early from work, just a routine, beat the traffic kind of day, and found something that turned my entire life upside down. My wife, the woman I trusted with everything, wasn't alone. And no, it wasn't just a look or a lingering text. It was the full-blown, undeniable truth. Someone else was in our house. At first, my brain went into denial. This can't be real. I must be seeing things. But the evidence was right there. And the moment she saw me, the look on her face, I'll never forget it. That mix of guilt, fear, and, somehow, expectation. She wasn't hiding it anymore, and neither could I. I froze. And for a while, I didn't even know what to feel. Anger, sadness, betrayal, disbelief. All at once. It was like my heart had been punched, kicked, and set on fire in less than 10 seconds. And honestly, I just wanted to leave and never come back. After the initial shock wore off, the emotions hit me like a freight train. Anger first, pure, burning anger. I wanted to scream, break things, make her feel even a fraction of the pain she'd caused me. But I didn't. I just sat there, trembling, trying to make sense of a reality that no sane mind should ever have to process. Then came the sadness, the quiet, gnawing kind that sinks into your bones. All the little moments we shared, the inside jokes, lazy Sunday mornings, even the fights that once felt trivial, they suddenly felt like a cruel lie. I kept replaying memories in my head, wondering which ones were real and which ones were just part of the illusion. Sleep became impossible. Eating felt mechanical. I even caught myself laughing at old photos, and then immediately hating myself for doing it. It was chaos inside my own head, and the more I tried to control it, the less control I had. Eventually, I knew I couldn't stay frozen forever. I had to talk to her, really talk, not just throw accusations or yell. So, I asked her to sit down. It was awkward, tense, and honestly terrifying. I didn't know if I was going to break, or if I would just explode. She admitted everything, in painstaking detail. Every lie, every secret, every stolen moment. And instead of relief, I felt hollow, like the person I thought I knew had been replaced with someone I couldn't recognize. But here's the thing that surprised me the most. After the initial confrontation, the anger started to shift. I realized it wasn't just about her betrayal. It was about me, too. About how much I had let myself be consumed by the idea of perfect marriage, instead of seeing reality, noticing the cracks, speaking up when things felt off. It hurt, but it also opened my eyes. After the confrontation, life didn't magically get easier. If anything, it got worse for a while. Every little sound in the house made my chest tighten. Every notification on my phone made me jump. I couldn't stop imagining what else I didn't know, or worse, what she might do next. I started withdrawing from friends and family. Calls went unanswered, invitations declined. Even work, which used to be my escape, felt heavy and meaningless. I couldn't focus, couldn't concentrate, and every task felt monumental. Nights were the worst. Lying awake, staring at the ceiling, feeling like the world had been drained of color. I realized I was stuck in a loop. Anger, sadness, guilt, replaying scenes over and over. And the more I tried to force myself to just get over it, the more impossible it became. It was like my own emotions were holding me hostage, and I didn't know how to escape. One night, in the middle of another sleepless stretch, I caught a glimpse of myself in the bathroom mirror. I barely recognized the person staring back. Eyes red, jaw tight, shoulders slumped. And for the first time, I asked myself a question that had been hiding in the back of my mind. Do I want to stay stuck in this, letting her betrayal define me, or do I want to take my life back? It wasn't an instant epiphany. It was slow, almost painful. I realized that clinging to anger and resentment was only chaining me to the past. And as much as I wanted justice, or maybe revenge, it wouldn't heal me. Only I could do that. So I made a decision, small but significant. I was going to start taking control of my own life again. I didn't know what the next steps looked like yet, but I knew that I couldn't let this define me forever. The next morning, I did something that felt almost revolutionary. I went for a long walk. Just me, headphones in, letting the world exist outside my bubble of hurt. I noticed things I hadn't in months. The way the sunlight hit the park benches, the smell of fresh coffee from a corner cafe, the laughter of strangers passing by. Life was still happening, whether I let myself be part of it or not. I started small. I reconnected with friends I'd ignored. I focused on work tasks, not for distraction, but because I needed to feel capable again. Even simple routines, like making my own breakfast or tidying the apartment, started giving me a sense of control I hadn't felt in weeks. It wasn't about her or what she did, it was about me. About proving to myself that I could survive, that I could rebuild, that I could still be someone I respected and liked. And oddly, the more I focused on my own life, the lighter my chest felt. I know it sounds crazy, but forgiveness became my lifeline. Not for her. She had made her choices, but for me. Holding on to the anger, replaying every betrayal, it was like drinking poison and expecting someone else to suffer. It started small. A thought here, a sigh there. I forgive you, not for you, but so I can breathe. And with each repetition, the weight on my chest lifted just a little. I realized that forgiving didn't mean forgetting. It didn't mean excusing her actions. It meant reclaiming my energy, my peace, and my ability to move forward without being shackled to pain. What surprised me most was how liberating it felt. For the first time in months, I smiled without guilt. I laughed without reservation. I even found myself remembering the good moments in our marriage without immediately twisting them into reminders of betrayal. Once I started forgiving, even in tiny doses, it opened a door I didn't realize had been locked for so long. I began thinking about the future instead of replaying the past. I signed up for a workshop I'd been curious about, reconnected with colleagues on a project I'd shelved, and even considered some personal goals I had long abandoned. It wasn't about replacing what I'd lost. It was about creating something entirely new. I didn't rush. I took one step at a time. Mornings spent running, afternoons focused on work, evenings rediscovering hobbies I'd ignored. Every small win reminded me that life wasn't over, that happiness wasn't gone, and that I could still be proud of the man I was becoming. And the most surprising part? I started feeling alive again, not because I forgot the betrayal, but because I refused to let it define the rest of my life. Just when I thought I was moving forward, the past had a way of sneaking up on me. A song on the radio, a scent, even a random street corner. Suddenly, I was back in that moment of betrayal, feeling that same hollow panic. It was like my brain refused to believe I could actually be free. Some days, I'd catch myself scrolling through old photos, memories flooding back with surprising intensity. I had to remind myself constantly, feeling the pain doesn't mean failure. Feeling sad doesn't erase progress. And every time I allowed myself to feel without judgment, I noticed something strange. Those flashes of pain got shorter, less intense, and eventually, they became just another part of my story rather than the story itself. It taught me that moving on isn't about never thinking of the past. It's about letting it exist without letting it control you. And even that small realization felt like a victory. Once I learned to let the past exist without controlling me, I started opening myself up again, carefully, cautiously, but genuinely. I tried new things, joined a local cooking class, went on hikes with friends, even attended a weekend art workshop that terrified me at first. It wasn't about finding someone new right away or rushing into anything. It was about reminding myself that life still had joy to offer. I laughed more freely, spoke more honestly, and even allowed myself to dream about possibilities I'd shoved aside after the betrayal. The real surprise? I started trusting myself again. Not other people, not yet, but me. My instincts, my choices, my ability to decide what I wanted out of life without fear or guilt. And with that trust came a sense of freedom I hadn't felt in years. A sense that I could finally create the life I wanted, even if it looked nothing like what I had before. It hit me one evening while I was reorganizing my apartment. A small, ordinary task that turned into something extraordinary. I came across a stack of old journals I'd kept over the years, full of dreams, frustrations, and random thoughts. As I read them, I realized something shocking. I had spent so much of my life worrying about what others thought, trying to be perfect and clinging to the past. The breakthrough? I didn't need anyone's permission to be happy. I didn't need validation from her or anyone else to move forward. My life didn't have to mirror what I had lost. It could be mine, fully, unapologetically mine. That night, I felt something I hadn't in months. Complete, unshakable clarity. The betrayal still stung, sure, but it no longer had the power to derail me. I had my life back, one choice at a time. With that clarity came action. I started making decisions I'd been too scared to make before. I applied for a new position at work that seemed way out of my league, and even though it terrified me, I went for it. I reorganized my apartment, getting rid of things that reminded me of the past, and keeping only what felt meaningful to me. I also started setting boundaries. I stopped overextending myself for people who didn't respect my time or energy. I began saying no without guilt, and yes to opportunities that truly excited me. It wasn't instant success or instant happiness. It was messy, awkward, and sometimes exhausting, but it felt authentic. For the first time in a long time, my life was my own again, not dictated by fear, guilt, or betrayal. One quiet evening, I found myself sitting on my balcony with a cup of coffee, watching the city lights flicker in the distance. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I felt calm. Not numb, not distracted, not pretending. It was real. I realized something important. I could remember the betrayal without letting it define me. I could honor the lessons it taught me about trust, resilience, and self-worth without carrying its weight every second. And strangely, I even felt a tiny bit of gratitude. Not for what she did, obviously, but for what I had learned about myself in the aftermath. It wasn't a grand epiphany or a dramatic everything's perfect now moment. It was simple, subtle, and powerful peace. The kind that comes from knowing you've survived the worst and still chosen yourself. After months of rebuilding, reflecting, and slowly reclaiming my life, I realized there were a few things I wanted to share for anyone going through something similar. First, forgive, but not for them, for you. Holding on to anger is like carrying a backpack full of rocks everywhere you go. Drop it. It's yours to release. Second, take small steps. You don't have to fix everything at once. Even tiny actions, going for a walk, reconnecting with a friend, starting a new hobby, matter. Third, trust yourself again. Your instincts, your decisions, your desires, they matter. Let them guide you. And finally, your life doesn't end because someone betrayed you. It changes, yes, but it can still be beautiful, full, and even exciting. The pain doesn't disappear entirely, but it becomes just one part of a larger story, yours. Looking back now, I can honestly say that the betrayal didn't break me, it reshaped me. I learned that life will throw unimaginable challenges your way, sometimes from the people you trust most. But it's not the betrayal itself that defines you, it's how you respond. I've rebuilt my life, piece by piece. I've laughed, loved, and pursued dreams I'd long ignored. I've learned to forgive, not forget, and to prioritize my own peace above all else. And while I'll always carry the memory of what happened, it no longer dictates my choices or my happiness. If there's one piece of advice I could give anyone facing this kind of pain, it's this: forget the past, not by erasing it, but by refusing to let it control your future. Let go, forgive, and build a life that's entirely yours. Because the best revenge isn't anger or resentment, it's thriving, fully, unapologetically.